All right, let's dive right in. We're going to explore one of those huge, ancient questions that people of faith have wrestled with forever. And we're going to do it using a really powerful concept from Islamic theology known as divine respite. It might just give us a whole new way of looking at things. I mean, you see it all the time, right? You turn on the news, you look at history, and you see it plain as day. It seems like the worst people often get ahead, while good people suffer. And it begs the question, if God is supposed to be all good, all-powerful, and all-just, why? Why does this happen? It's a really tough, emotional question, and today, we're going to see if we can find an answer. So where do we even begin? Well, according to the framework we're looking at, the answer isn't a simple one-line judgment. It actually requires us to completely shift our perspective. It's asking us to stop thinking of this world as a courtroom and to start seeing our lives, our very existence, in a totally different light. And that brings us to the first really big idea, this metaphor of the world as a great examination hall. And I mean it. This one single idea is pretty much the key to unlocking everything else we're going to talk about. This is such a critical distinction. Our gut instinct, is to see the world as a courtroom. We expect bad deeds to be punished and good deeds to be rewarded, like right away. We want to see the gavel come down. But this perspective says, hold on, what if you're in the wrong building? It's not a courtroom for handing out sentences. It's an examination hall, a place for a test. And this isn't just a convenient metaphor. It has a formal name in Islamic theology. It's called Dar al-Imtihan. It literally translates to the abode of testing. So this idea is a core principle. It completely reframes our time here on Earth as one long, incredibly meaningful test. And if we just stick with that analogy for a second, it makes a lot of sense. In this exam hall, every single one of us gets the tools we need. Our paper, our pen, you can think of that as our free will, our specific circumstances, our talents. And, so crucially, there's a clock on the wall. We all have a limited amount of time. And that clock is ticking for everyone, from the kindest person you know to the most brutal tyrant. Okay, but wait a minute. If it's an exam, what about the cheaters? Why doesn't the proctor just march over and put a stop to it when someone starts disrupting the whole class or tearing up other people's papers? Well, this is where the next crucial piece of the puzzle comes in, the principle of respite. And this has a name too. The term is mahalat. It simply means a respite, a temporary delay. So when we see an oppressor acting without any apparent consequence, this framework tells us something really important. We're not seeing divine approval. We're not seeing God forget. What we're seeing is muhalat, a divinely allowed delay, so that the test can run its course. And I know what you're thinking, because it's the most natural question in the world. Why? Why grant this delay, especially to people who are clearly destructively failing the test and hurting others in the process? It just feels wrong, doesn't it? Well, the answer to that goes right to the heart of a core attribute of God in the Islamic tradition. The reason for Mohalat is tied directly to God's attribute of being Rahim, the merciful. The idea is that this ultimate mercy dictates that every single soul gets their full, allotted time to complete their test. No one's paper gets snatched away early. This gives the righteous a chance to demonstrate their patience and faith, and it gives the wrongdoer every possible opportunity to change their ways, or to fully show the world and themselves the true nature of their choices. So in this view, the delay itself is actually an act of mercy. But this period of testing, this respite, it doesn't just go on forever. Eventually the exam has to end. And that leads us to the final part of this whole equation, the final accounting. Just like any exam, this one has a hard deadline. And that deadline is the end of a person's life. At that moment, that's it. Pencils down, the test paper is collected, and the chance to write any new answers is completely over. The period of muhlat is officially finished. And this is where we get the resolution. See, the grading doesn't happen during the test. It happens after all the papers are collected. The final results are reserved for the afterlife. And that's the place where justice is promised to be perfect and absolute. That courtroom we were looking for at the beginning, it was just in the wrong place. It's not here. It's waiting for us in the hereafter. So let's just quickly recap the whole journey. Step 1, the test. That's life, right here. We take an action. Step 2, the respite. The clock keeps ticking because mohlat, this divine delay, is granted out of mercy, letting the test play out. And finally, step 3,
the result. In the afterlife, the test is over, the paper gets graded, and that is when and where absolute justice is finally delivered.
You see how this whole framework kind of flips the script? It shifts our focus away from looking at everyone else's test paper and demanding the proctor do something, and it forces us to look down at our own. It's all about our own conduct in the exam, which leaves us with one last pretty crucial question to think about. If this life really is a test, what kind of answers are you writing on your paper?